Welcome to Page Insights, where today we're diving into the transformative principles of How to Talk Like a Leader, a book that unlocks the secrets of powerful communication. Leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about what you say and how you say it. Words have the power to motivate, unite, and drive change, but they can also falter if not wielded with intention. This book is your guide to mastering the art of leadership communication, whether you're speaking to a boardroom, a small team, or even your family. In this video, we're going to unpack the core strategies from How to Talk Like a Leader, chapter by chapter, to give you practical tools you can apply immediately. We'll explore how to craft a compelling vision, build trust through authenticity, navigate tough conversations, and inspire action, all through the power of your words. This isn't just about public speaking. It's about everyday interactions that define you as a leader. By the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap to communicate with authority, empathy, and impact. Let's set the stage. Leadership communication is about connection. It's about aligning your words with your values, your audience, and your goals. The book breaks this down into actionable steps, and we're going to walk through them together. Why does this matter? In today's fast-paced world, leaders are judged not just by their results, but by how they communicate. A 2023 study from Harvard Business Review found that 87% of employees say communication is the top skill they look for in a leader. Whether you're a CEO, a team manager, or an aspiring influencer, your ability to articulate ideas clearly and inspire others is what sets you apart. How to Talk Like a Leader distills decades of research and real-world examples into a framework that anyone can use. From mastering your tone to handling conflict, this book covers it all. So let's dive into the first chapter and start building your leadership voice. Before we begin, a quick note. This is a long, in-depth summary designed to give you the full value of the book. If you want to skip to a specific chapter, check the timestamps in the description below. But I encourage you to stick with us for the whole journey. Each chapter builds on the last, creating a complete picture of how to talk like a leader. Ready? Let's jump into Chapter 1. Chapter 1, The Foundation of Leadership Communication. Leadership begins with communication. That's the core message of Chapter 1 in How to Talk Like a Leader. But what makes communication leaderly? It's not about using big words or dominating a conversation. It's about clarity, purpose, and connection. The book starts by laying out three foundational pillars of leadership communication: authenticity, clarity, and empathy. Let's break these down and explore how you can apply them in your daily life. First, authenticity. To talk like a leader, you have to be real. People can smell inauthenticity a mile away. When you speak from a place of genuineness, you build trust. The book shares the story of Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, who transformed the company's culture by speaking openly about his personal values and vision. When Nadella took over in 2014, Microsoft was struggling to innovate. His first speech to employees wasn't filled with corporate jargon. It was personal. He talked about his passion for learning and his belief in a growth mindset. That authenticity set the tone for his leadership and inspired employees to rally behind him. The lesson: don't try to mimic someone else's style. Find your voice. Reflect on your values, your why, and let that guide your words. How do you cultivate authenticity? The book suggests starting with self-awareness. Spend time understanding your strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. Journaling is a great tool. Write down what drives you, what you stand for, and what you want to achieve as a leader. Then practice aligning your words with those truths. For example, if you value collaboration, don't just say teamwork is important. Share a story about a time when collaboration led to success. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. When your words match your actions, people listen. Next, clarity. Leaders don't confuse their audience. They simplify without dumbing down. The book emphasizes that clarity is about distilling complex ideas into messages that resonate. Think of Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone in 2007. He didn't overwhelm the audience with technical specs. He said, an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator all in one. That's clarity. To achieve this, the book recommends a three-step process. Know your audience, define your key message, and eliminate noise. Before you speak, ask, who am I talking to? What do they care about? What's the one thing I want them to remember? Then cut out jargon, fluff, or unnecessary details. Practice this in meetings or even casual conversations. If you can explain a complex idea in simple terms, you're already communicating like a leader. Empathy is the third pillar. Leadership communication isn't about you. It's about your audience. Empathy means understanding their needs, fears, and aspirations. The book cites Oprah Winfrey as a master of empathetic communication. Whether interviewing a celebrity or speaking to her audience, Oprah listens deeply and responds with compassion. This makes people feel seen and valued. To develop empathy, the book suggests active listening. Focus fully on the speaker, ask open-ended questions, and reflect their emotions. For example, if a team member is frustrated, say, "It sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed. Can you tell me more?" This builds trust and opens the door to collaboration. Chapter 1 also dives into the science of communication. Research shows that only 7% of communication comes from words. 38% is tone, and 55% is body language. Leaders use this to their advantage. Your tone should match your message, confident for inspiration, calm for reassurance. Your body language, eye contact, open posture, reinforces your words. Practice standing tall, maintaining steady eye contact, and using purposeful gestures. The book includes an exercise. Record yourself giving a short speech, then watch it to assess your tone and body language. Small tweaks, like slowing your pace or smiling more, can make a big difference. Finally, Chapter 1 emphasizes consistency. Leadership communication isn't a one-time event, it's a habit. Whether you're giving a presentation or chatting over coffee, every interaction shapes how others perceive you. The book suggests creating a communication charter, a personal set of principles to guide how you speak. For example, I will always be clear, kind, and honest. Refer to this charter before important conversations to stay grounded. But see, mastering authenticity, clarity, and empathy. You lay the groundwork for talking like a leader. These aren't just skills, they're mindsets that transform how you connect with others. As we move to Chapter 2, we'll build on this foundation by exploring how to craft a vision that inspires action. But first, let's pause for a quick reflection. How authentic is your communication right now? Are you clear in your message? Are you truly listening to others? Jot down one thing you can improve, and let's keep going. Chapter 2. Crafting a Vision that Inspires. If Chapter 1 was about building your foundation, Chapter 2 is about painting a picture that others want to follow. Leaders don't just give orders, they inspire people to believe in a shared future. How to Talk Like a Leader dedicates this chapter to crafting a compelling vision, a clear, vivid description of where you're going and why it matters. A great vision isn't just a goal, it's a story that ignites passion and action. The book starts with a powerful example, Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech. King didn't just list policy changes, he painted a picture of a world where equality and justice prevailed. His words were vivid, emotional, and inclusive, making everyone feel part of the mission. The lesson: a leader's vision must be specific enough to guide but inspiring enough to motivate. To create this, the book outlines 4 steps. Define the destination, make it relatable, use vivid language, and repeat it often. Step 1. define the destination. Your vision should answer, where are we going and why? It's not enough to say, we'll increase sales. A leader says, we'll transform our industry by delivering unmatched value to our customers. The book suggests starting with a vision statement, a single sentence that captures your goal. For example, if you're leading a startup, your vision might be, we'll empower every small business to compete globally through affordable technology. Write it down, refine it, and test it with others to ensure it's clear. Step 2. Make it relatable. A vision only works if others see themselves in it. The book uses the example of Elon Musk, who frames Tesla's mission as accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. That's not just about cars, it's about a better planet, which resonates with employees, customers, and investors. To make your vision relatable, connect it to your audience's values. If you're leading a team, ask, what do they care about? Security, innovation, community. Tailor your vision to those priorities. For instance, if your team values creativity, emphasize how your vision unleashes their potential. Step 3. Use vivid language. Leaders paint pictures with words. Instead of saying, we'll improve customer service, say, we'll create moments of delight that keep customers coming back. The book recommends using metaphors, stories, and sensory words to make your vision memorable. For example, a restaurant manager might say, our dining room will feel like a warm family, gathering filled with laughter and unforgettable flavors. Practice this by describing your vision to a friend. If they can visualize it, you're on the right track. Step 4. Repeat it often. A vision isn't a one-time announcement, it's a drumbeat. The book cites Jeff Bezos, who constantly reinforced Amazon's vision of being Earth's most customer-centric company. Repetition embeds the vision in people's minds. Share it in meetings, emails, and casual conversations. But don't just repeat the same words. Adapt the message to different contexts while keeping the core consistent. The chapter also addresses common pitfalls. One is vagueness. A vision like "will be the best" is too generic to inspire. Another is disconnect. If your vision feels unattainable, people will disengage. The book suggests grounding your vision in reality while stretching people's ambitions. For example, instead of "we'll dominate the market," say, "we'll double our market share in 2 years by innovating faster than our competitors." This is ambitious but achievable. To bring your vision to life, the book emphasizes storytelling. Stories make abstract ideas concrete. Share a personal story about why the vision matters to you, or highlight a success story that embodies it. For example, if your vision is about empowering employees, tell a story about a team member who thrived because of your leadership. Stories stick in people's minds and hearts. Finally, Chapter 2 encourages practicing your vision statement in different formats: a 30-second pitch, a 1-minute speech, a written memo. Each format forces you to refine your message. Try this. Record yourself delivering your vision in 30 seconds, then ask for feedback. Does it inspire? Is it clear? This practice builds confidence and clarity. As we wrap up Chapter 2, reflect on this. What's your vision, and how can you articulate it to inspire others? Write down a draft vision statement and test it out this week. In Chapter 3, we'll explore how to build trust through your words, a critical step in making your vision believable. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. Building Trust Through Words. 3,000 words. Trust is the currency of leadership. Without it, your vision, no matter how compelling, falls flat. Chapter 3 of How to Talk, Like a Leader, dives into how to use communication to build and maintain trust. The book argues that trust comes from 3 qualities: credibility, reliability, and intimacy. Let's unpack these and see how you can apply them to talk like a leader. Credibility starts with expertise and honesty. People trust leaders who know what they're talking about and admit when they don't. The book shares the example of Indra Nooyi, former PepsiCo CEO, who built credibility by deeply understanding her industry and being transparent about challenges. To build credibility, the book suggests two strategies. Know your stuff and own your gaps. Before speaking on a topic, do your homework, research the data, understand the context, and anticipate questions. If you don't know something, say, "I'm not sure, but I'll find out and get back to you." This honesty earns respect. Reliability means keeping your word. If you say you'll do something, do it. The book cites a study showing that 70% of employees distrust leaders who fail to follow through on promises. To be reliable, make clear commitments and follow up. For example, if you promise a team member feedback by Friday, deliver it. The HUS book recommends using commitment language, phrases like "I will" or "you can count on me to." These small words signal accountability. Also, be consistent in your communication style. If you're warm one day and cold the next, people won't know what to expect. Intimacy is about emotional connection. Leaders who show vulnerability and care build stronger bonds. The book highlights Brené Brown, whose talks on vulnerability resonate because she shares personal stories. To build intimacy, share appropriate personal experiences, maybe a challenge you overcame or a lesson you learned. This makes you relatable. Also, show genuine interest in others. Ask questions like, "How are you holding up with this project?" and listen without interrupting. The book suggests a trust audit. Reflect on a recent interaction and ask, did I show expertise? Did I keep my word? Did I connect emotionally? This helps identify areas to improve. The chapter also covers handling mistakes, a critical trust-building moment. When you mess up, own it quickly and clearly. The book uses the example of a CEO who apologized publicly for a product failure, outlining steps to fix it. This rebuilt trust faster than deflecting blame. Practice this formula. Acknowledge the mistake, apologize sincerely, and offer a solution. For example, "I missed the deadline on this report and I'm sorry for the delay. I've set a new timeline and will keep you updated." Nonverbal communication plays a big role in trust. The book cites research showing that people judge trustworthiness in milliseconds based on eye contact, posture, and tone. Maintain steady eye contact, avoid crossing your arms, and use a warm, steady tone. Practice this in low-stakes settings, like casual conversations, to build muscle memory. Finally, Chapter 3 emphasizes consistency over time. Trust isn't built in one speech. It's earned through repeated, reliable interactions. The book suggests a daily practice. At the end of each day, reflect on one conversation where you built trust and one where you could have done better. Over time, this builds a reputation as a trustworthy leader. As we close Chapter 3, think about someone you trust. What do they do to earn it? How can you mirror that in your communication? In Chapter 4, we'll dive into navigating tough conversations with confidence and grace. But for now, let's take a moment to apply these trust-building principles in your next interaction. Chapter 4. Navigating Tough Conversations. Leadership isn't all about inspiring speeches and grand visions. Sometimes it's about the hard stuff, those conversations that make your stomach churn. Chapter 4 of How to Talk Like a Leader is all about navigating tough conversations with confidence, grace, and results. Whether you're delivering critical feedback, resolving a conflict, or addressing a sensitive issue, how you communicate in these moments defines your leadership. The book breaks this down into a framework. Prepare with purpose, stay calm under pressure, and focus on solutions. Let's unpack each step and see how you can master these high-stakes talks. First, prepare with purpose. Tough conversations go wrong when you wing it. The book emphasizes the importance of clarity before you open your mouth. Ask yourself, what's the goal of this conversation? Is it to correct behavior, solve a problem, or rebuild a relationship? For example, if you're addressing a team member's missed deadlines, your goal might be to understand the root cause and agree on a plan to improve. Write down your objective in one sentence to stay focused. The book also suggests mapping out the conversation. Anticipate the other person's perspective, questions, or objections. For instance, if you're giving feedback, they might feel defensive. Plan a response like, "I understand this might feel tough to hear, but I'm sharing this because I believe in your potential." Preparation builds confidence and keeps you on track. The book shares the story of a manager who had to address a toxic team dynamic. Instead of diving in with accusations, she prepared by identifying her goal, restoring collaboration, and gathering specific examples of the issue, like missed handoffs between team members. She opened the conversation with, "I've noticed some challenges in how we're working together, and I want us to find a way to make this team stronger." This set a constructive tone, and the team responded positively. The lesson? Preparation turns a potential confrontation into a problem-solving session. Next, staying calm under pressure. Tough conversations can get emotional, and leaders who lose their cool lose their credibility. The book cites a 2024 study from the Journal of Organizational Behavior, which found that 65% of employees respect leaders who remain composed during conflict. To stay calm, the book recommends 3 techniques: breathe, pause, and reframe. Before responding to a heated comment, take a deep breath to lower your heart rate. If emotions run high, pause and say, "Let's take a moment to reflect." Reframing means shifting the conversation from blame to collaboration. For example, if someone says, "You're always micromanaging me," reframe it. It sounds like you're looking for more autonomy. Let's talk about how we can make that work. These techniques keep the conversation productive. The book also emphasizes active listening during tough talks. When emotions are high, people want to feel heard. Use phrases like, "I hear you," saying, or "Can you explain more about that?" to show you're engaged. The book shares an example of a CEO addressing layoffs. Instead of delivering a cold announcement, she listened to employees' concerns, acknowledged their fears, and explained the company's plan transparently. This built trust, even in a difficult moment. Practice this by role-playing tough conversations. With a friend or colleague, it's like a gym workout for your communication skills. Finally, focus on solutions. Tough conversations aren't about winning, they're about moving forward. The book suggests ending with a clear action plan. For example, after giving feedback, say, "Let's agree on 2 steps you'll take this week, and I'll check in to support you." This shows you're invested in their success. The book also recommends following up after the conversation. A quick email or check-in reinforces your commitment. For instance, "I appreciated our talk yesterday. How's the new plan going?" This builds trust and shows you're not just checking a box. One pitfall to avoid is avoiding tough conversations altogether. The book cites research showing that 80% of managers delay difficult talks, which only makes problems worse. If you're hesitant, schedule the conversation within 24 hours to avoid procrastination. Another pitfall is being too vague. Instead of saying, "You need to improve," be specific. "Your reports have had errors in the last 3 submissions. Let's work on a system to ensure accuracy." Specificity drives accountability. The chapter also covers nonverbal cues in tough conversations. Your tone and body language matter as much as your words. Keep your voice steady, maintain eye contact, and avoid defensive postures like crossed arms. The book suggests practicing in front of a mirror to spot habits like fidgeting. Small adjustments like leaning slightly forward signal openness and engagement. To apply this, the book offers an exercise. Identify one tough conversation you need to have this week. Write down your goal, anticipate the other person's perspective, and practice your opening line. For example, I've noticed we're not aligning on this project and I'd like us to find a way to work better together. Then, after the conversation, reflect. Did I stay calm? Did we reach a solution? This builds your confidence over time. As we wrap up Chapter 4, think about a tough conversation you've been avoiding. What's one step you can take to prepare for it? In Chapter 5, we'll shift gears to inspiring action through your words, the kind of communication that gets people moving. Chapter 5. Let's keep going. Inspiring action through words. Great leaders don't just share ideas, they ignite action. Chapter 5 of How to Talk Like a Leader is all about using your words to motivate people to move, whether it's rallying a team to hit a deadline or inspiring a community to embrace change. The book outlines a three-part formula for inspirational communication: create urgency, paint a vivid picture, and issue a clear call to action. Let's dive into each and see how you can get people excited to act. First, create urgency. People move when they feel something's at stake. The book uses the example of John F. Kennedy's 1961 speech, where he declared the U.S. would land on the moon by the end of the decade. He didn't just say, "Let's go to the moon." He framed it as a race against time, saying, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade, because that challenge is one we are willing to accept." That urgency galvanized a nation. To create urgency, the book suggests tapping into your audience's why. Ask, what's at risk if we don't act? What's the reward if we do? For example, if you're leading a sales team, say, if we don't hit this quarter's target, we'll lose ground to competitors, but if we succeed, we'll open new opportunities for growth and bonuses. This makes action feel immediate and necessary. How do you craft urgency without sounding alarmist? The book recommends balancing. Challenge with hope. Highlight the stakes but also show confidence in the solution. For instance, we're behind on this project, but I know our team has the talent to turn it around by next week. Practice this by writing a 1-minute pitch for a goal you're leading. Include a clear why now statement like, "We need to launch this product by Q3 to capture the market before our competitors do." Test it with a colleague. Does it light a fire under them? Next, paint a vivid picture. Inspiration comes from imagination. The book revisits Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech, where he described children of different races holding hands. That image stuck because it was concrete and emotional. To paint your own picture, use sensory details and stories. Instead of saying, "We'll improve customer satisfaction," say, "Imagine customers raving about our service, sharing stories of how we went above and beyond." The book suggests a visualization exercise. Close your eyes and picture your team achieving the goal. What do you see, hear, feel? Translate that into words. For example, a non-profit leader might say, "Picture families in our community with warm homes this winter because of our fundraising efforts." Stories are key to vivid communication. The book shares the example of a startup founder pitching to investors. Instead of listing stats, she told a story about a customer whose life changed because of her product. That story landed the funding. To practice, think of a success story tied to your goal. Maybe a time your team overcame a challenge. Share it in your next meeting to make your message stick. Finally, issue a clear call to action. Inspiration. Without direction fizzles out. The book emphasizes that leaders must tell people exactly what to do next. For example, after sharing a vision, say, "By Friday, I need each of you to submit one idea for improving our process." The book cites a 2023 study showing that specific calls to action increase follow-through by 40%. To make yours effective, use action verbs, set deadlines, and make it personal. Instead of "we need to innovate," say, "I'm asking each of you to brainstorm 3 new ideas by Wednesday." This clarity drives results. The chapter also covers delivery. Inspirational communication requires energy and conviction. The book suggests practicing vocal variety. Emphasize key words, vary your pace, and use pauses for impact. Record yourself, delivering a motivational message, and listen for enthusiasm. Are you engaging? If not, try raising your energy or adding a personal anecdote. Body language matters too. Stand tall, use open gestures, and make eye contact to convey passion. 1. Pitfall is overhyping. If your inspiration feels exaggerated, people will tune out. The book advises grounding your message in reality. For example, don't promise world domination if your goal is modest growth. Another pitfall is neglecting follow-up. After inspiring action, check in regularly to maintain momentum. For instance, last week, I asked for your ideas. Let's review them today and pick the top 3. To apply this, the book offers a challenge. Deliver a 1-minute motivational talk to your team or a friend. Focus on urgency, vivid imagery, and a clear call to action. For example, we're at a turning point. If we act now, we can lead the market. Picture our customers raving about our product. By Monday, let's each commit to one bold step. Reflect on their response. Did they feel inspired? As we close Chapter 5, think about a goal you want to inspire action for. What's one way you can create urgency or tell a story to motivate others? In Chapter 6, we'll explore how to adapt your communication to different audiences, a critical skill for any leader. Let's keep the momentum going. Chapter 6. Adapting to your audience. Leadership communication isn't one size fits all. What inspires one person might bore another. Chapter 6. Of how to talk. Like a leader focuses on tailoring your message to your audience, whether it's a skeptical boardroom, an enthusiastic team, or a diverse community. The book outlines 3 keys to audience adaptation: know your audience, adjust your style, and respect cultural differences. Let's dive in and see how you can connect with anyone, anywhere. First, know your audience. Effective leaders research who they're speaking to. The book uses the example of Angela Merkel, who tailored her speeches to different groups, from German voters to global leaders, by understanding their priorities. Before communicating, ask, who are they? What do they value? What challenges do they face? For example, if you're pitching to investors, they care about ROI and risk. If you're rallying employees, they want to feel valued and inspired. The book suggests creating an audience profile. List their demographics, goals, and pain points. For instance, if you're leading a young team, note that they might value flexibility and purpose over traditional rewards. To gather this, the book recommends observation and questions. Notice how your audience reacts in meetings. Are they energized or disengaged? Ask open-ended questions like, what's your biggest priority right now? Or, what would make this project a success for you? This builds empathy and informs your approach. The book shares a story of a non-profit leader who turned around a failing campaign by surveying her audience and learning they wanted more transparency about fund usage. She adjusted her messaging to focus on impact, and donations soared. Next, adjust your style. Once you know your audience, adapt your tone, language, and content. The book categorizes audiences into 4 types: analytical, emotional, practical, and visionary. Analytical audiences want data and logic. Give them stats and evidence. Emotional audiences respond to stories and passion. Share personal anecdotes. Practical audiences need clear steps and outcomes. Focus on how-tos. Visionary audiences love big ideas. Paint a bold future. For example, when presenting to a mixed team, you might say, here's the data showing our growth. Potential analytical, which means more opportunities for our team. Emotional. Let's take these 3 steps to get there. Practical. And together we'll redefine our industry. Visionary. Practice this by preparing a message for two different audiences. For instance, pitch a project to your boss, analytical, with metrics. This initiative will boost revenue by 15%. Then pitch it to your team, emotional, with a story. This will let us create experiences our customers will never forget. The book suggests role-playing with a colleague to test your adaptability. Can you shift your style seamlessly? Respecting cultural differences is the third key. In a globalized world, leaders often communicate across cultures. The book cites a 2024 study showing that 70% of multinational teams fail due to cultural miscommunication. To avoid this, learn about your audience's cultural norms. For example, in high-context cultures like Japan, indirect communication, hints, nonverbal, cues is valued. In low-context cultures like the US, directness is preferred. The book shares an example of a manager who offended a Middle Eastern client by being too blunt. After learning to use more diplomatic language, the relationship improved. To build cultural competence, the book suggests 3 steps: research, listen, and adapt. Before a cross-cultural interaction, read about the culture's communication norms, e.g., Hofstadter's cultural dimensions. Listen for cues. If someone seems reserved, they might prefer indirect feedback. Adapt by mirroring their style respectfully. For example, if you're leading a diverse team, avoid idioms like hit the ground running, which might confuse non-native speakers. Instead, use clear, universal language. The chapter also addresses digital audiences, a growing challenge in 2025. Whether you're on a Zoom call or posting on X, digital communication requires extra clarity. The book suggests using concise sentences, visual aids, and frequent check-ins like, "Does this make sense?" For online audiences, engagement is key. Ask questions, use polls, or encourage comments to keep them involved. One pitfall is assuming your audience thinks like you. The book warns against the curse of knowledge, expecting others to know what you know. Simplify your message without patronizing. Another pitfall is ignoring feedback. If your audience seems disengaged, adjust on the fly, maybe shift from data to a story or pause for questions. To apply this, the book offers an exercise. Pick an upcoming conversation and create an audience profile. List their priorities, preferred style, and any cultural considerations. Then tailor your message and practice delivering it. After, reflect. Did they respond as expected? What could you tweak? This builds your adaptability over time. As we close, Chapter 6. Think about an audience you struggle to connect with. What's one thing you can do to better understand their perspective? In Chapter 7, we'll explore mastering nonverbal communication to amplify your message. Stay tuned. Page in Chapter 7. Mastering nonverbal communication. Words are powerful, but they're only part of the story. Chapter 7, of How to Talk Like a Leader, dives into the silent language of leadership, nonverbal communication. Research shows that 55% of your message comes from body language, 38% from tone, and just 7% from the words themselves. Leaders who master nonverbal cues amplify their impact, whether they're in a boardroom, on a Zoom call, or addressing a crowd. This chapter breaks it down into 3 key areas: body language, vocal delivery, and presence. Let's explore how to make your nonverbal communication scream leader. First, body language. Your posture, gestures, and facial expressions speak louder than words. The book cites a 2024 study from the Journal of Leadership Studies, which found that 68% of employees judge a leader's confidence based on posture alone. To project authority, stand tall with shoulders back, feet shoulder-width apart, and avoid slouching. Open gestures like palms facing up signal trust and inclusivity, while crossed arms can seem defensive. The book shares the example of Michelle Obama, whose warm smile and purposeful gestures during speeches make her relatable yet commanding. To practice, try the power pose before a big talk. Stand with hands on hips for 2 minutes to boost. Confidence. Record yourself speaking and watch your posture. Are you leaning in to engage or shrinking back? Small tweaks like keeping your chin up make a big difference. Eye contact is a game changer. It builds trust and shows you're present. The book suggests the triangle technique. Focus on one eye, then the other, then the mouth, cycling every few seconds to avoid staring. In group settings, scan the room to connect with everyone. For example, when presenting, make eye contact with different audience members for 2 to 3 seconds each. This makes people feel seen. The book shares a story of a manager who turned around a disengaged team by using deliberate eye contact during meetings, signaling, "I value you." Practice this in your next conversation. Notice how it changes the dynamic. Facial expressions must align with your message. A smile conveys warmth, but overdoing it during serious talks can undermine credibility. The book recommends practicing neutral confidence, a relaxed face with a slight upward curve of the mouth. Try this in a mirror. Say a serious statement, like, "We need to address this issue," while keeping your expression calm but engaged. If you're naturally expressive, channel that energy purposefully. Nod to show agreement or furrow your brow to show concern, but avoid over-the-top. Reactions. Next, vocal delivery. Your tone, pace, and volume shape how people perceive you. The book highlights Nelson Mandela, whose slow, deliberate speech commanded attention. To project leadership, vary your tone to match your message. Upbeat for inspiration, calm for reassurance. Avoid monotone delivery, which bores listeners. The book suggests a vocal exercise. Read a paragraph aloud, emphasizing different words each time. For example, "We will succeed" versus "We will succeed." This builds vocal flexibility. Pace matters too. Slow down for emphasis, speed up for excitement. Pauses are powerful. A 2-second pause after a key point lets it sink in. Practice this by recording a short speech and listening for vocal variety. Do you sound engaging or flat? Volume is about balance. Too loud and you seem aggressive, too soft and you lose authority. The book recommends projecting your voice to reach the back of the room, or the mic in virtual settings. Try the projected whisper technique. Speak as if confiding in someone across the room. This adds warmth without shouting. The book shares an example of a startup founder who struggled to pitch investors because her voice was too soft. After practicing projection, her pitches landed funding. Test this in a low-stakes setting like a team huddle and ask for feedback on your volume. Presence ties it all together. Leaders with presence command attention without saying a word. The book defines presence as the ability to be fully in the moment, exuding confidence and connection. Think of Oprah Winfrey, whose calm yet magnetic energy draws people in. To build presence, practice mindfulness. Before a big talk, take 10 deep breaths and focus on the present. The book suggests a centering exercise. Visualize a string pulling you upward from the crown of your head, grounding you in confidence. Use this before meetings to feel in control. Digital communication adds complexity. On video calls, your nonverbal cues are magnified. The book advises keeping your camera at eye level, sitting slightly forward, and using subtle gestures to stay engaging. Avoid distractions like checking your phone. It signals disinterest. For example, a manager improved her virtual team meetings by maintaining eye contact with the camera and nodding during others' comments, boosting engagement. Pitfalls to avoid include mismatched signals, e.g., smiling during bad news, and overthinking your nonverbals, which can make you seem stiff. The book suggests practicing in low-stakes settings like casual chats to build natural habits. Another pitfall is cultural differences. Gestures like pointing can be rude in some cultures. Research your audience's norms to avoid missteps. The book offers a challenge. Record a 2-minute talk on any topic, Then analyze your body language, tone, and presence. Ask, do I look confident? Is my tone engaging? Try it again with one improvement, like stronger eye contact. Over time, these tweaks become second nature. As we wrap up Chapter 7, reflect, what's one nonverbal habit you can improve? Maybe it's standing taller or pausing for impact. In Chapter 8, we'll tackle leading in a crisis, where your words and presence matter most. Let's keep going, Page Insights, fam. Sights. Chapter 8. Leading in a Crisis. Crises test leaders like nothing else. Whether it's a company scandal, a team conflict, or an external shock, how you communicate in tough times defines your legacy. Chapter 8 of How to Talk Like a Leader is all about leading through uncertainty with clarity, empathy, and resolve. The book outlines a three-step approach: acknowledge the reality, provide direction, and inspire hope. Let's dive in and see how you can guide others when the stakes are high. First, acknowledge the reality. In a crisis, people crave honesty. Denying or sugarcoating the situation erodes trust. The book cites New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's response to the 2019 Christchurch attack. She spoke candidly about the tragedy, saying, "This is one of New Zealand's darkest days," before outlining immediate actions. This transparency reassured the public. To acknowledge reality, state the facts clearly and avoid jargon. 4. Example. If your company faces layoffs, say we're facing financial challenges and we need to reduce our team size, follow with empathy. I know this is tough, and we're committed to supporting everyone affected. The book suggests writing a one-sentence summary of the crisis to stay focused. For example, our supply chain is disrupted, impacting deliveries. This keeps your message grounded. Acknowledging reality also means addressing emotions. People in a crisis feel fear, anger, or confusion. The book recommends naming these emotions. I know many of you are worried about what's next. This validates feelings and builds connection. Practice this by reflecting on a recent crisis, maybe a project failure. How could you acknowledge the team's frustration? For instance, I see how hard this setback hit us and I appreciate your resilience. Next, provide direction. In uncertainty, people look to leaders for a path forward. The book emphasizes clarity and simplicity. Break your plan into 3 key actions. People can't process complex plans in a crisis. For example, during a product recall, a leader might say, "First, we're halting sales. Second, we're investigating the issue. Third, we'll communicate. Updates daily." This structure calms chaos. The book shares the example of a hospital CEO during a 2024 cyber attack. Instead of vague promises, she outlined specific steps. We're restoring systems, enhancing security, and keeping patients informed. This clarity reduced panic. To provide direction, use we language to foster unity. For example, "We'll get through this together." Avoid overpromising. Say, "We're working on solutions, not everything will be fine." The book suggests a direction checklist. Is my plan clear? Is it actionable? Does it address immediate needs? Test this by explaining your plan to a colleague. Can they repeat it back? Inspiring hope is the final step. Crises sap morale, but leaders can reignite it. The book highlights Winston Churchill's World War II speeches, which acknowledged Britain's dire situation but rallied the nation with, "We shall never surrender." Hope isn't about false optimism. It's about showing a light at the end of the tunnel. For example, during a team crisis, say, "This is tough, but our hard work now will set us up for success." The book suggests tying hope to your audience's values. For instance, by pulling together, we'll protect our community's trust. Stories are a powerful tool for hope. The book shares an example of a non-profit leader facing budget cuts. She told a story of a past crisis where the team's creativity saved the day, then said, "We've done it before and we'll do it again." This motivated her team to brainstorm solutions. Try this. Share a story of a time you or your team overcame adversity. It could be as simple as, "Last year we missed a deadline but rallied to deliver our best work." Nonverbal communication is critical in a crisis. The book cites research showing that 70% of people judge a leader's credibility by their tone and body language during tough times. Use a steady, calm tone and maintain open posture to signal control. Practice this on video calls, where small cues like nodding or leaning in show you're engaged. The book also advises frequent communication, daily updates even if brief. Keep people grounded. Pitfalls include silence, people assume the worst, and defensiveness, it alienates your audience. The book suggests scheduling regular check-ins, even if you say, "We don't have all the answers yet, but here's what we know." Another pitfall is neglecting self-care. Leading in a crisis is draining, so take time to recharge. Even 10 minutes of meditation can help you stay sharp. The book's exercise: think of a recent or potential crisis. Write a 2-minute script that acknowledges the issue, provides 3 clear actions, and inspires hope. Practice delivering it with a calm tone and confident posture. For example, "We're facing a delay and I know it's frustrating. Here's our plan. We'll reallocate resources, set new milestones, and track progress daily. Together we'll deliver something amazing." Reflect. Did it feel authentic? As we close Chapter 8, consider a crisis you might face. How can you acknowledge it honestly and inspire hope? In Chapter 9, we'll explore building a personal leadership brand to make your communication unforgettable. Keep it locked, Page Insights crew. Chapter 9. Building a personal leadership brand. Your words shape how people see you as a leader. Chapter 9 of How to Talk. Like a Leader focuses on building a personal leadership brand, a consistent, authentic way of communicating that defines who you are and what you stand for. Your brand isn't a logo, it's the reputation you create through every interaction. The book outlines 3 steps: define your brand, communicate it consistently, and evolve it over time. Let's dive in and craft a leadership brand that sticks. First, define your brand. A leadership brand is the unique combination of your values, style, and impact. The book uses the example of Malala Yousafzai, whose brand is rooted in courage, education, advocacy, and authenticity. Her speeches consistently reflect these qualities, making her instantly recognizable. To define your brand, the book suggests asking, "What do I stand for? How do I want to be remembered?" For example, your brand might be the collaborative problem solver or the visionary who empowers others. Write a 1-sentence brand statement like, "I'm a leader who inspires innovation through clear, inclusive communication." Test it with trusted colleagues. Does it feel true to you? Self-reflection is key. The book recommends a values audit. List your top 3 values, e.g. integrity, creativity, empathy, and think of times you've embodied them in communication. For instance, if empathy is your value, recall a time you listened deeply to a team member's concerns. Your brand should also reflect your strengths. Are you great at storytelling, simplifying complex ideas? Lean into those. The book shares a story of a manager who branded herself as the clarity catalyst by always breaking down complex projects into clear steps, earning her team's trust. Next, communicate consistently. A brand only sticks if people see it repeatedly. The book cites consistency as the difference between forgettable and iconic leaders. For example, Apple's Steve Jobs was known for his reality distortion field, his ability to persuade through passionate, visionary communication. Every keynote, email, or meeting reinforced this. To be consistent, align your words, tone, and actions across contexts. If your brand is approachable and strategic, use a warm tone in emails, share strategic insights in meetings, and follow through on promises. The book suggests a brand checklist. Before speaking, ask, does this reflect my brand? For example, if your brand is optimism, avoid negative phrasing like, this won't work, and say, let's find a better way. Consistency extends to digital platforms. In 2025, your online presence, from LinkedIn posts to X updates, shapes your brand. The book advises curating your digital voice to match your in-person style. If you're collaborative, share posts that highlight team wins or ask for input. For example, a leader posted on X, "Our team crushed it this quarter. What's one thing we can do better?" This reinforced her inclusive brand. Monitor your digital footprint. Are your posts aligned with your values? Evolving your brand is the third step. Leadership isn't static, and your brand should grow with you. The book shares the example of Satya Nadella, who evolved Microsoft's brand from aggressive competition to collaborative innovation, mirroring his own shift to a growth mindset leader. To evolve your brand, seek feedback regularly. Ask colleagues, how do I come across in meetings? Or what's one thing I could improve? Use this to refine your style without losing your core identity. The book suggests revisiting your brand statement every 6 months to ensure it reflects your growth. Pitfalls include inauthenticity, copying someone else's brand, and inconsistency, acting differently in different settings. The book warns against brand drift, where stress or pressure makes you deviate from your values. For example, if your brand is calm leadership, don't snap in a heated meeting. Another pitfall is neglecting your audience's perception. If they see you differently than intended, adjust your communication. For instance, if you're seen as aloof but want to be approachable, smile more and ask personal questions. The book's exercise. Write your brand statement and test it in 3 interactions this week. For example, if your brand is inspiring, clarity. Deliver a clear motivational message in a meeting, email, and casual chat. Reflect. Did people respond to your brand? Also, create a brand board, a visual collage of words, images, or quotes that represent your leadership style. Refer to it for inspiration. As we close Chapter 9, ask, what's your leadership brand and how can you make it shine? In Chapter 10, we'll explore sustaining your leadership voice for the long haul. Stay with us, Page Insights fam, and let's keep building that leadership legacy. Chapter 10. Sustaining your leadership voice. Talking like a leader isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a lifelong practice. Chapter 10 of How to Talk Like a Leader focuses on sustaining your leadership voice over the long haul, ensuring your communication stays sharp, authentic, and impactful no matter the season. The book outlines 3 keys to longevity. Build consistent habits, seek continuous improvement, and stay resilient through setbacks. Let's unpack these and see how you can keep your leadership voice strong for years to come. First, build consistent habits. Great leaders don't just communicate well in big moments, they do it every day. The book emphasizes the power of small, repeatable actions. For example, Indra Nooyi, former PepsiCo CEO, made a habit of writing personal notes to employees, families reinforcing her empathetic leadership style. To build your own habits, the book suggests a communication routine. Start each day by setting an intention. For example, today I'll listen actively in every conversation. End the day by reflecting, did I communicate clearly? Did I inspire someone? The book cites a 2025 study from the Leadership Quarterly, showing that leaders who reflect daily on their communication improve their effectiveness by 30% within 6 months. Practical habits include preparing for key interactions. Before a meeting, spend 5 minutes reviewing your goals and audience. What's the one message you want to land? Another habit is practicing vocal warm-ups, like reading a paragraph aloud with varied tone to keep your delivery dynamic. The book shares the story of a non-profit leader who struggled with rambling presentations. She started a habit of scripting her opening lines and practicing them daily, which made her talks concise and powerful. Try this. Pick one communication habit, like pausing for emphasis, and practice it for 10 minutes daily for a week. You'll see results fast. Consistency also means aligning your communication with your values. If your leadership brand is authenticity, make a habit of sharing a personal insight in every team meeting, maybe a lesson learned or a quick story. This reinforces your identity. The book suggests a communication journal. Write down one interaction each day and note how it reflected your brand. Over time, this builds a track record of consistency. Next, seek continuous improvement. Leadership communication is a skill, and skills need sharpening. The book recommends a feedback loop. Ask for input, act on it, and assess the results. For example, after a presentation, ask a trusted colleague, "What worked? What could be clearer?" Don't just seek praise. Ask for specifics like, "Did my tone feel confident?" The book shares the example of a tech CEO who improved his public speaking by recording every talk and reviewing it with a coach. Within a year, his keynotes went from dull to inspiring. To start, identify one person you trust to give honest feedback and ask them to observe your next meeting. Learning from others is another way to improve. The book suggests studying great communicators. Watch TED Talks, analyze speeches, or follow leaders on X. Notice how they structure their messages or use pauses. For instance, Michelle Obama often starts speeches with a personal story to hook the audience. Try mimicking one technique, like opening with a story in your next talk. The book also recommends reading one communication-focused article or book per month. A 2024 Harvard Business Review study found that leaders who invest in learning improve their influence by 25%. Resilience through setbacks is the third key. Leadership communication isn't always smooth. You'll face criticism, misunderstandings, or moments when your words fall flat. The book shares the story of a startup founder whose pitch bombed with investors. Instead of giving up, he analyzed the feedback, refined his message, and landed funding on his next try. To stay resilient, the book suggests reframing setbacks as learning opportunities. After a tough moment, ask, "What can I take from this?" For example, if a team member misinterprets your feedback, reflect on how you could be clearer next time. Self-care supports resilience. The book cites research showing that stress reduces vocal clarity and emotional intelligence. Practice mindfulness. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing before a big talk can keep you grounded. The book also advises celebrating small wins to stay motivated. Did you nail a tough conversation? Treat yourself to a coffee or a quick break. This builds momentum. Pitfalls include complacency, thinking you've mastered communication, and burnout, overloading yourself with speaking. Engagements. The book suggests pacing yourself. Say no to low-impact talks to focus on high-value ones. Another pitfall is ignoring your audience's evolving needs. As your team or industry changes, adapt your style. For example, younger employees in 2025 value informal, transparent communication, so ditch the corporate jargon. The book's exercise: create a 30-day communication plan. Pick one habit, e.g. active listening, one improvement goal, e.g. clearer emails, and one resilience strategy, e.g. reflecting on setbacks. Track your progress daily and share it with a mentor for accountability. For example, Day 1. Pause twice in a meeting to emphasize key points. Felt more impactful. As we wrap up Chapter 10, reflect, what's one communication habit you can start today? In Chapter 11, we'll dive into storytelling, the secret source of unforgettable leadership. Stay locked in, Page Insights crew. Chapter 11, Mastering Storytelling for Leadership. Stories are the heartbeat of leadership. They make your message stick, your vision come alive, and your audience feel connected. Chapter 11, of How to Talk. Like a Leader is all about mastering. Storytelling to inspire, persuade, and unite. The book outlines 3 elements of a powerful leadership story: structure, emotion, and authenticity. Let's break these down and see how you can weave stories that move people. First, structure. A great story has a clear arc: beginning, middle, and end. The book recommends the hero's journey framework. Introduce a challenge, describe the struggle, and reveal the resolution. For example, a leader might share, "Last year our team faced a tight deadline challenge. We worked late nights, brainstorming solutions, struggle. In the end, we delivered our best project yet, resolution." This structure hooks listeners. The book cites Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford commencement address, where he shared 3 stories about his life's challenges and triumphs, each with a clear arc that inspired graduates. To practice, write a 1-minute story about a leadership moment you've experienced using this arc. The beginning sets the scene. Start with a vivid image or question to grab attention. For example, have you ever felt like giving up? Or picture a room full of stressed-out teammates. The middle builds tension. Describe the stakes and obstacles. The end delivers. A lesson or call to action like, "That's when I learned the power of persistence." The book suggests testing your story on a friend. Does it hold their attention? If not, simplify or add more detail. Emotion is the second element. Stories work because they make people feel. The book shares the example of Malala Yousafzai, who tells stories of her fight for education with raw emotion, moving audiences to action. To add emotion, tap into universal feelings like hope, fear, or pride. For instance, when rallying a team, say, "I was terrified we'd miss this deadline, but your creativity made me proud." Use sensory details to make it vivid. "The room was buzzing with ideas and I could feel the energy shift." The book cites a 2024 study showing that emotional stories increase audience engagement by 40%. To find emotional stories, reflect on moments that shaped you: a failure, a win, or a lesson. For example, a manager shared a story about a mentor who believed in her when she doubted herself, then tied it to her team. "I believe in you the same way." This inspired her team to step up. Practice this by identifying one emotional moment from your career and crafting it into a 2-minute story. Share it in a low-stakes setting, like a team lunch, and note the response. Authenticity is the third element. People can spot a fake story from a mile away. The book emphasizes telling stories that are true to you, even if they're not perfect. For example, admitting a mistake. "I once ignored a team member's idea, and it cost us." Builds trust. The book shares a story of a CEO who opened a town hall with a personal failure. "Early in my career, I botched a project because I didn't listen. That taught me to value every voice." Employees respected her honesty, and engagement soared, but keep stories authentic. Avoid exaggeration and focus on real experiences. If you're not a natural storyteller, start small. Share a quick anecdote in a meeting. The book suggests a story bank. Write down 5 to 10 experiences that shaped your leadership, e.g. a tough decision, a team win. Refer to this when you need a story. For example, if inspiring resilience, pull out a story about overcoming a setback. Digital storytelling is a growing skill in 2025. On platforms like X, short, authentic stories resonate. The book cites a leader who shared a 280-character story on X about a team's late-night breakthrough ending with, "That's why I love this team." It went viral, boosting her brand. Try this. Post a short leadership story on X and see how your audience reacts. Pitfalls include overloading with details, keep it concise, and forcing a story where it doesn't fit. It should serve your message. Another pitfall is neglecting practice. The book suggests rehearsing stories to sound natural, not scripted. Record yourself telling a story and listen. Does it flow? The book's exercise. Craft a 2-minute leadership story with a clear arc, emotional hook, and authentic lesson. Share it with a colleague or team and ask, "Did this resonate?" For example, "When our biggest client left, I doubted we'd recover. Your hard work proved me wrong, and now we're stronger than ever." Reflect. How did it land? As we close Chapter 11, think, what's one story you can share to inspire your team? In Chapter 12, we'll tackle persuasive communication to win hearts and minds. Keep it rolling, Page Insights fam. Chapter 12, Persuasive Communication. Leadership often means getting others to buy into your ideas. Chapter 12 of How to Talk Like a Leader is all about persuasive communication, the art of influencing decisions without coercion. Whether you're pitching a project, negotiating a deal, or rallying support, persuasion is your superpower. The book outlines 3 strategies: build credibility, appeal to logic and emotion, and handle objections gracefully. Let's dive in and make your words impossible to resist. First, build credibility. People won't follow your ideas if they don't trust you. The book cites Aristotle's ethos, your character and expertise, as the foundation of persuasion. For example, when Elon Musk pitches SpaceX's vision, he leans on his track record of innovation. To build credibility, share relevant experience or results. If pitching a new strategy, say, "Last year, I led a similar initiative that boosted efficiency by 20%. The book suggests preparing a credibility statement, a concise summary of why you're qualified. For instance, "I've spent 5 years studying market trends, and here's what I've found." Credibility also comes from transparency. Admit uncertainties to build trust. For example, "We don't have all the answers, but here's why. This plan is our best shot." The book shares a story of a manager persuading her team to adopt a new tool. She admitted, "I was skeptical too, but testing it showed a 15% time savings." Her honesty won them over. Practice this by sharing a small vulnerability in your next pitch. It humanizes you. Next, appeal to logic and emotion. Persuasion requires both head and heart. The book recommends the logic-emotion sandwich. Start with data, add an emotional hook, and close with a logical call to action. For example, when pitching a budget increase, say, "Our data shows a 10% ROI on this investment." Logic. Imagine the impact on our customers' lives. Emotion. "Let's allocate funds by next quarter." Logic. The book cites a 2024 study showing that combining logic and emotion increases persuasion by 35%. Logic means clear evidence, stats, examples, or case studies. If proposing a new process, say, "Companies like ours saw a 25% productivity boost with this approach." Emotion means connecting to values or aspirations. For example, "This change will give our team more time to innovate, which I know you're passionate about." The book shares a story of a sales leader who persuaded a client by combining data. "Our product increased conversions by 30%. With emotion, your customers will feel empowered." The deal closed that day. To practice, craft a 1-minute pitch for an idea you care about. Include one statistic and one emotional appeal. For example, "This training program cuts errors by 15% and gives our team confidence to shine." Test it on a colleague. Does it persuade them? Handling objections gracefully is the third strategy. Resistance is normal, and great leaders don't fight it, they address it. The book suggests the acknowledge, ask, answer method. Acknowledge the objection to show you're listening. "I hear your concern about costs." Ask a question to understand. "Can you share what's worrying you most?" Answer with clarity. "Here's how we'll manage the budget." The book shares an example of a project manager facing pushback on a timeline. She said, "I understand. The deadline feels tight. What's the biggest challenge you see? We can adjust resources to make it work." This turns skeptics into collaborators. Anticipating objections is key. Before a persuasive talk, List 3 potential concerns and prepare responses. For example, if pitching a risky project, expect, "What if it fails?" Respond, "We've mitigated risks with a phased rollout, and here's the data." The book also advises staying calm. A defensive tone kills persuasion. Practice a neutral response like, "That's a fair point. Let's explore it." Digital persuasion, especially on platforms like X, requires brevity. The book cites a leader who persuaded her network to support a cause with a concise post. "Our community needs this program." Emotion. "It's proven to help 1,000 families." Logic. "Join us." Call to action. Try this. Craft a 280 character. Pitch for an idea and post it on X to test its impact. Pitfalls include overloading with facts, it bores people, and ignoring emotions, it disconnects. Another pitfall is pushing too hard. Persuasion is about guiding, not forcing. The book suggests checking for buy-in. Does this make sense, or what do you think? This invites collaboration. The book's exercise. Prepare a 2-minute pitch for an idea using credibility, logic, and emotion. Deliver it to a friend or team and ask, "Would you act on this?" For example, "I've led 3 successful launches." Credibility. "This project will boost revenue by 10%. Logic. "And make our customers' lives easier." Emotion. "Let's start next week." Reflect. What worked? As we close Chapter 12, ask, what's one idea you need to persuade others about, and how can you make it compelling? In Chapter 13, we'll tackle leading in a virtual world, a must-have skill for 2025. Stay tuned, Page Insights crew. Chapter 13, Leading in a Virtual World. In 2025, the virtual world is where leadership happens. From Zoom meetings to X posts, digital communication is a cornerstone of influence. Chapter 13 of How to Talk. Like a leader focuses on leading effectively in virtual settings, where clarity, engagement, and connection are harder to achieve, but just as critical. The book outlines 3 strategies. Optimize your digital presence, engage remote audiences, and build virtual trust. Let's unpack these and make you a virtual leadership rockstar. First, optimize your digital presence. Your virtual setup, camera, lighting, background, shapes how people perceive you. The book cites a 2024 study from the Journal of Business Communication, showing that 60% of employees judge a leader's professionalism by their video call setup. To optimize, position your camera at eye level, use soft lighting to avoid shadows, and keep your background clean. A bookshelf or plant works better than a messy room. The book shares the example of a startup CEO who transformed her remote meetings by upgrading her setup. A clear camera and professional backdrop made her team take her more seriously. Your voice is critical online. Without physical presence, vocal clarity carries extra weight. The book suggests projecting slightly louder than in person and enunciating clearly to counter audio lag. Practice a virtual vocal warm-up. Read a paragraph aloud, emphasizing consonants to sound crisp. Also use concise sentences. Long-winded explanations lose virtual audiences. For example, instead of, "We're considering multiple options to enhance our productivity," say, "We're exploring 3 ways to boost productivity." Test this in your next video call. Does your message land clearly? Engaging remote audiences is the second strategy. Virtual settings lack the energy of in-person interactions, so leaders must work harder to keep attention. The book recommends interactive tools like polls, chat prompts, or breakout rooms. For example, a manager started meetings with a quick poll. "On a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you about this project?" This sparked engagement. The book also suggests frequent check-ins. Ask, "What's one thought you have so far?" Every 10 minutes to keep people involved. Visual aids enhance engagement. Use slides or screen sharing to illustrate points, but keep them simple. No more than 10 words per slide. The book shares a story of a sales leader who doubled her team's virtual engagement by using clear visuals, like a graph showing sales trends paired with a story. This spike came from your hard work last quarter. Try this. In your next virtual meeting, share one visual and ask for feedback. Does it clarify your message? Building virtual trust is the third strategy. Without face-to-face cues, trust relies on consistency and transparency. The book emphasizes regular communication. Weekly updates via email or video keep remote teams aligned. For example, a project. Manager sent short Monday motivation videos, summarizing goals and praising team efforts, boosting morale. The book also advises showing vulnerability online. Share a small challenge like, "I struggled with this software too, but here's how we'll tackle it." This humanizes you. Digital platforms like X amplify your virtual leadership. Udihai. Book cites a leader who built trust by posting daily X updates about her team's progress. Mixing data, "We hit 80% of our goal," with encouragement, "You're killing it." This kept her remote team connected. Try this. Post a 280-character leadership message on X like, "Our team's resilience is unreal. Let's finish this project strong." See how your audience responds. Pitfalls include neglecting nonverbal, CG looking at your screen instead of the camera, and overloading with information. The book suggests the 10-minute rule. Break virtual meetings into 10-minute segments with clear transitions like, "Now let's discuss next steps." Another pitfall is ignoring time zones. Schedule meetings thoughtfully for global teams. The book's exercise: plan a 15-minute virtual meeting. Optimize your setup, camera, lighting. Include one interactive element, poll or question, and send a follow-up email reinforcing trust. For example, "Great discussion today. Here's our plan and I'm here for questions." Reflect. Did the team stay engaged? As we wrap up Chapter 13, ask, what's one way you can boost your virtual presence this week? In Chapter 14, we'll tackle handling criticism with grace, a must for any leader. Stay locked in, Page Insights crew. Chapter 14. Handling criticism with grace. Criticism stings, but great leaders turn it into growth. Chapter 14. Of how to talk. Like a leader is all about handling criticism with grace, using it to strengthen your leadership and relationships, whether it's feedback from a boss, a team member, or a public comment on X. Your response defines your credibility. The book outlines 3 steps: listen without defensiveness, respond constructively, and grow from feedback. Let's dive in and make criticism your superpower. First, listen without defensiveness. Criticism feels personal, but reacting emotionally can damage your leadership. The book cites a 2024 study showing that 70% of employees respect leaders who listen to feedback without interrupting. To do this, practice active listening. Maintain eye contact, nod, and paraphrase what you hear. For example, if a colleague says, "Your meetings are too long," respond, "I hear you saying, our meetings feel drawn out. Can you share more?" This shows you're open, not defensive. The book shares the story of a manager who faced criticism for micromanaging. Instead of arguing, she listened and said, "I appreciate your honesty. What specifically feels overbearing?" This led to a productive discussion and a better team dynamic. To practice, try the 5-second rule. When criticized, pause for 5 seconds before responding to avoid knee-jerk reactions. Test this in a low-stakes setting, like a peer review, and notice how it shifts the conversation. Responding constructively is the second step. A great response acknowledges the feedback, clarifies intent, and offers a solution. The book suggests the acknowledge, reflect, commit framework. Acknowledge, "Thank you for pointing that out." Reflect, "I didn't realize my tone came across as harsh." Commit, "I'll work on being clearer in our next meeting." For example, when criticized for a vague strategy, a leader said, "Thanks for the feedback. I see how the plan wasn't clear. I'll revise it by Friday." This builds trust. The Tay book highlights a CEO who faced public criticism on X for a product flaw. Instead of ignoring it, she posted, "We hear your concerns about the glitch. It wasn't our intention to frustrate you. We're fixing it and will update you soon." This transparency turned critics into supporters. Try this. Next time you get feedback, use the framework and note the response. Does it de-escalate tension? Growing from feedback is the third step. Criticism isn't just about fixing a problem, it's about evolving as a leader. The book recommends a feedback journal. After receiving criticism, write down the feedback, what you learned, and one action you'll take. For example, feedback: "My emails are too long." Lesson: be concise. Action: limit emails to 100. Words. The book shares a story of a non-profit leader who was criticized for uninspiring speeches. She took a public speaking course, practiced daily, and became a sought-after speaker within a year. Feedback can also reveal blind spots. The book suggests seeking feedback proactively. Ask, "What's one thing I could improve?" This shows humility and drives growth. A 2025 study found that leaders who seek feedback improve their performance by 20% faster than those who don't. Try this. Ask a colleague for one piece of constructive feedback this week and act on it. In virtual settings, criticism can feel amplified. On platforms like X, negative comments are public. The book advises responding promptly and professionally, like, "Thanks for your input, we're addressing this issue." Avoid arguing online. It escalates fast. The book shares an example of a leader who turned X criticism into a win by inviting feedback. "We missed the mark here. What would make this better?" This built loyalty. Pitfalls include taking criticism personally. It's about the behavior, not you, and dismissing it outright. Even harsh feedback has value. Another pitfall is over-apologizing, which can undermine confidence. Say, "I'll improve this," not "I'm terrible at this." The book's exercise: recall a recent criticism. Write a response using the acknowledge, reflect, commit framework. Then practice delivering it calmly. For example, "Thanks for noting the delay. I didn't realize it impacted you. I'll set clearer deadlines." Reflect. Did it feel constructive? As we close Chapter 14, ask, how can you turn criticism into growth this week? In Chapter 15, we'll explore mentoring through words to lift others up. Keep it rolling. Chapter 15, Insights Fam. Mentoring through words. Great leaders don't just lead, they lift others up. Chapter 15, of How to Talk. Like a leader focuses on mentoring through words, using communication to guide, inspire, and empower others to grow. Whether you're coaching a team member, advising a colleague, or mentoring a community, your words can shape futures. The book outlines 3 strategies: ask powerful questions, provide actionable feedback, and inspire confidence. Let's dive in and make you a mentor who changes lives. First, ask powerful questions. Mentoring isn't about giving answers, it's about sparking insight. The book cites Socrates, whose questioning style helped students discover their own solutions. Powerful questions are open-ended, thought-provoking, and tied to goals. For example, instead of, "Did you finish the project?" ask, "What's one obstacle you faced and how can we overcome it?" The book shares a story of a manager mentoring a struggling employee. By asking, "What would success look like for you?" she helped him clarify his goals and improve performance. To craft powerful questions, focus on what and how over why, which can feel accusatory. Examples: what's one skill you want to develop, or how can we make this process smoother? The book suggests a question bank. Write down 10 mentoring questions and use one per conversation. Practice this in your next one-on-one. Ask a question like, What's one thing you're proud of this month? And listen deeply. Providing actionable feedback is the second strategy. Great mentors give feedback that's specific, constructive, and empowering. The book recommends the SBI model: situation, behavior, impact. For example, in yesterday's meeting situation, you presented the data clearly, behavior, which helped the team make a quick decision, impact. For constructive feedback, add a suggestion. Next time, try pausing for questions to engage everyone. The book shares a story of a leader who transformed a shy intern into a confident presenter by giving targeted feedback. Your slides were clear, but speaking louder will grab attention. To make feedback actionable, focus on 1 or 2 points, not a laundry list. The book cites a 2024 study showing that specific feedback improves performance by 25%, more than vague praise. Practice this. In your next mentoring session, use the SBI model and ask, "Does this resonate?" to ensure clarity. Inspiring confidence is the third strategy. Mentors help others believe in themselves. The book highlights Oprah Winfrey, who mentored countless leaders by affirming their potential. For example, she told a young producer, "You have a unique voice. Use it." To inspire, affirm strengths and tie them to potential. For instance, your analytical skills are top-notch. They'll make you a great strategist. The book suggests a strength spotlight. In every mentoring conversation, highlight one strength and connect it to a goal. Stories inspire too. Share a personal story of overcoming doubt to show growth is possible. For example, "I was nervous leading my first team, but I learned by jumping in." The book shares a story of a tech leader who mentored a junior developer by sharing her own failures, saying, "I bombed my first demo, but it taught me resilience. This gave the developer confidence to take risks." In virtual mentoring, clarity and warmth are key. Use video calls to maintain connection and follow up with written summaries. For example, after a mentoring call, email, "Great talking today. Try presenting your idea in our next meeting." The book advises scheduling regular check-ins to build trust remotely. Pitfalls include dominating the conversation, let mentees talk 70% of the time, and giving generic advice, tailor it to their needs. Another pitfall is neglecting follow-up. Check in on progress to show you care. The book's exercise. In your next mentoring conversation, ask one powerful question, give one piece of SBI feedback, and affirm one strength. For example, "What's your biggest goal this quarter?" "Your recent report was clear, which saved us time." Try adding visuals next. Your attention to detail is a game changer. Reflect. Did they feel empowered? As we close Chapter 15, ask, who can you mentor this week and how will you inspire them? Let's wrap this up with a conclusion that ties it all together. Stay with us, Page Insights
Wow,
fam.
Page
Insights fam, what a journey. We've unpacked how to talk like a leader from every angle, giving you a toolbox to communicate with impact, inspire action, and leave a lasting legacy. Let's recap the key lessons and send you off with a challenge to unleash your leadership voice. We started with Chapter 1, laying the foundation with authenticity, clarity, and empathy, the pillars of a leader's voice. Chapter 2 taught us to craft a vision that inspires, using vivid language and repetition to rally others. Chapter 3 showed how to build trust through credibility, reliability, and intimacy. In Chapter 4, we mastered tough conversations with preparation, calm, and solutions. Chapter 5 ignited action with urgency, vivid imagery, and clear calls to action. Chapter 6 adapted our communication to diverse audiences, respecting their needs and styles. Part 3 took us deeper. Chapter 7 mastered non-verbal cues, body language, tone, and presence to amplify our words. Chapter 8 guided us through crises, with honesty, direction, and hope. Chapter 9 built a personal leadership brand that's authentic and memorable. In Part 4, Chapter 10 sustained our voice with habits, improvement, and resilience. Chapter 11 made us storytellers, weaving narratives that stick. Chapter 12 turned us into persuaders, blending logic and emotion to win support. Today, in Part 5, Chapter 13 showed us how to lead in a virtual world, optimizing our digital presence and building trust online. Chapter 14 taught us to handle criticism with grace, turning feedback into growth. Chapter 15 made us mentors, using questions, feedback, and inspiration to lift others up. So what's the big takeaway? Leadership communication isn't about perfection. It's about connection. It's about using your words to inspire, guide, and empower. Whether you're in a boardroom, on a Zoom call, or posting on X. Every chapter gave you tools to make your voice heard. Be authentic, be clear, be empathetic, and always be learning. The book reminds us that leadership is a journey, and every conversation is a chance to grow. Let's look at a final example. In 2024, a young entrepreneur named Sarah launched a sustainable fashion brand. She used every principle from this book. She shared an authentic vision of eco-friendly fashion, Chapter 2, built trust with transparent supplier updates, Chapter 8.3, navigated tough investor talks, Chapter 4, and inspired her team with stories of impact, Chapter 11. Her virtual pitches on X went viral, Chapter 13, and when criticized for high prices, she responded with grace, explaining her ethical sourcing, Chapter 14. She mentored her team with powerful questions, Chapter 15, and her consistent brand of sustainability and passion made her a leader in her industry, Chapter 9. Sarah's story shows that anyone can talk like a leader with practice. Your challenge: pick one lesson from this book and apply it this week. Maybe it's crafting a vision statement, pausing before responding to criticism, or sharing a story. In your next meeting, write down your goal and track your progress. For example, this week I'll use the SBI feedback model in my team check-in. Share your results in the comments. We want to hear your wins. To keep growing, practice daily. Record yourself speaking, ask for feedback, and study great communicators. Post your leadership insights on X to build your digital brand. As the book says, your voice is your legacy. Use it to shape the future. Thank you for joining us on this epic Page Insights journey. If this video inspired you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell for more life-changing book summaries. Share this with someone who needs a leadership boost and let us know in the comments. What's your biggest takeaway from How to Talk Like a Leader? We read every comment and love hearing from you. Until next time, keep talking like a leader, and let's make an impact together. Page Insights out.